Yo, what is good? I hope y'all are doing well today. So in this video, I'm going to show y'all how to make a beat for Lil Baby's It's Only Me, similar to like California Breeze and Waterfall Flow. So more of that kind of R&B-esque kind of ambient vibe. Per usual, I'm going to be showing y'all how to make this beat from scratch. I'm not going to say too much else, so let's just hop right into the sample. So starting off with the tempo, I got it at 174 beats per minute. So for the first sound that I had, I went into Analog Lab to the Echoes Bank by HZE, and I got this Eternal Seas Evolving Synth preset. So for the MIDI, I believe I drew this up in A sharp minor. So starting with a root note, I have A sharp, and then I copied this A sharp up 7 half steps up to F, which is the 5th note in the scale. So almost like making a minor triad, but without the middle note. I just took the normal line setting and I just put in these notes here to accent with it. I wasn't really thinking too much about like the theory and all that. I was just trying to make something that was kind of a vibe, or like I just thought of a top melody in my head and just penciled it in. And I only ended up making like the first 2 measures, and then I copied it over and made a couple slight note changes. And then once I had the first 4, I copied it over for these 4 right here. So before putting any effects on it, this is what the first pattern sounds like. So for the effects here, I put on Portal on the Anxiety preset from the Producer Grind Experiment Club pack. After Portal, I went into Shaper Box and I put on the Multi-Phaser preset, and I set the master mix to 25% in the plugin. Then I opened up halftime and I put the mode on 1.5 times and set the loop to 1/8. And then I went into RC20 and set it to the Vinyl 3 preset, turned off the noise, and I adjusted the wobble and space knobs. So with the effects, this is what the first pattern now sounds like. So as you can tell, the key is also different from the first one. So the halftime on the 1.5 setting ends up changing the key. It either moves it 5 half steps down in key or up 7 half steps. It means the same thing. It's just depending on how you want to look at it relatively. So when I exported this as an audio clip, instead of it being in A sharp minor, it ended up being in F minor. So to export the audio clip, I went to the mixer track here, and then I armed it, hit Alt R on my keyboard, set the mode to pattern, cut remainder, and then hit start. So what I ended up doing is once I had the finished audio clip, I imported it into the playlist here, and I believe I cut it in half and pasted either the second half here or the first half here. Honestly, I don't remember. And then what I did is I changed the declicking mode to smooth. So the key in this is now in G minor, and then I exported it again and I set it right here. I ended up chopping it up every 2 measures instead of every 4 here, and then I changed the mode to smooth, and then I routed that to a mixer track and I put some reverb on it, and this is Fruity Reverb on the Venue preset. So this is what the finished first stem sounds like. So after adding that, I then put in this lower ARP layer. So for my second sound, I went into Xenology Pro. I got the Atmosphere Chords preset, and this is kind of like an ambient harp or string type of sound. And with this, I was just putting in pretty simple and repetitive type of pattern. Again, this is just kind of a melody that I thought of in my head, and I just penciled it out into FL. I made the first 2 measures, and then I copied it over for the remainder. So before putting effects on it, this is what it sounds like. So that's cool, but it doesn't really fit the vibe of the track just yet. So routing that to a mixer track, the first effect I put on it was RC20 on the Vinyl 1 preset. I turned off the noise, kept everything, and added some space to it. Then I put on Shaper Box on the Tremolo Duck preset and turned the master mix to 66%. Then I opened up Portal and I put on the Game preset from Max Shooter's Waves Crate 2. And then I opened up another instance of Portal and put on the Twisted Circles preset from HZE's Grain Synthesis Bank. And then I just put on some default halftime to round it out. So now this is what the ARP now sounds like with all the effects on it. So I exported this sound similar to how I did with the last one in the mixer track, and then I put it into the playlist here, and I only kept the second half of it because, as you've heard in the first one, the first 2 measures got kind of cut off when all the effects were coming in. So I only wanted it when the effects were active. So I just took the second 4 measures and duplicated it to the left. And then I exported that once again and just pasted it down here. I just took the first 2 measures of the rendered stem and duplicated it for the entire 8. So then after that, I went to Max Shooter Sound Source Kit and I got this accent right here. I time stretched it so that it was 8 measures long, and then I pitched it up 700 cents. Since it was in the key of C, I wanted it in G minor. So the accent by itself sounds like this. And for some effects on it, I just put some space in RC20 to add some reverb. And then I put on this EF Panner preset in Shaper Box and put the master mix to about 30%. Coming down the stretch, I have my last 2 stems. The first is this bell sound I got from Purity, specifically the Same Feel preset. And I just wanted this to accent what we already have, just to give it a little more depth and kind of have like a higher counter melody. And then lastly, I added my sub bass, specifically the Growler Moog bass preset from Omnisphere. So putting it together with everything else we got, this is what it sounds like. So I rendered each of these out as audio clips, and then I arranged the individual stems in here, added a couple transition sounds, and then I rendered out the final loop. All right, so I opened this up into a new FLP, and as you can tell, I kind of just lazily added drums. So I just threw the loop into a new project file, and in here, I added the drums and arranged it, finished the rest of the beat. And then when I put it in here, I set this project tempo to the same as the loop, and then changed the mode to stretch and pitched it down by 1/2 step. So the final beat is in the key of F sharp minor. As for this, the drums, I tried to keep it fairly simple, just because we're at a higher tempo and the sample was already pretty busy as is, so I didn't want to add too much to it. So for my first drum sound, I just added this basic slap clap and put it on the 3rd beat of every measure. After adding the clap, I put in my hi-hat sound. And with this is probably the most delicate drum sound, especially at this type of tempo, because if we just put in like a normal 2-step, it's going to be way too busy and it just drowns out everything and there's no room to rap on it. The hi-hats are going to be kind of similar to like R&B type of hi-hats, maybe even like slower West Coast type of hi-hats, where you want to add plenty of space to it so you have room for perks, vocals, and your other drum sounds. So looking at the hi-hat pattern, you can really tell that I've tried to leave plenty of space and also adjusted the velocities on a lot of these to add some extra bounce to it. I threw in a few rolls here and there just to add some variation to it, and the rolls I believe are using the 1/3 step snap to grid. After putting in the hi-hat, I added my snare. For the snare placement, it's pretty similar to most of the beats that I do, where it's just on the offbeat normally here, but I just added a few of these kind of accents here and there just to make it a different vibe. And similar to the hi-hats, I adjusted the velocities quite a bit on these because I wanted these to have a bit of a bounce to it. And also similar to the hi-hats, you don't want to overdo it to where you don't have any space left for anything else. So after putting in the snare, I then added my open net sound. I just had some pretty basic open net placement with this one, nothing too out of the ordinary. And then for my last drum sound, which really just gels the whole vibe together, is the 808, and I just used a shortened type of spin sound. It's pretty much just following those same root notes that I had in the sub bass in the loop. So that's going to wrap it up for this one. Thank you if you made it this far in the video. Let me know any thoughts or feedback you have for me in the comments. And that's going to do it for me, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.